Hey everybody, welcome back to James Draws Everything. Continuing today, drawing every country in the world's flag, and I think we're going to have another fun one today because we're going back into Southeast Asia. Used to be part of Indonesia, a small country of East Timor. You may also know it as Timor-Leste. Right? And this country, the name Timor actually means east, so it's kind of like east. So it's the eastern part of the Timor Island, and the other half is part of Indonesia, the western half. So a lot of overlap with the history here, and I already did do Indonesia, so go check that one out. And did a little bit of studying on this one, and I gotta say it's full of contradictions, full of some interesting stuff. It is Southeast Asia, so let's get to it. All right, so I'm not going to go over the whole history of Indonesia, just the important parts that are relevant to this country. So early peoples here, Austronesian migrations, much later on Malay migrations into the area, and then in the colonial period, this place was colonized by both the Dutch and the Portuguese. And the country we're talking about today, Timor-Leste, I'm going to call it Timor-Leste, I think. I don't know. Should I? I think that's the official name, Timor-Leste. So we got to keep it consistent here, right? So Timor-Leste is colonized by the Dutch. I'm sorry, the Portuguese. So the Dutch have the other half of the island, and they kind of reach an agreement in the Treaty of Lisbon as to where to demarcate these borders. And that's kind of where the seeds for trouble are planted. Just the seeds, though. All right, they don't really have trouble quite yet. And as far as the colonial aspect of this island, it was very attractive for sandalwood. It's like, I like sandalwood. I've got some good sandalwood fragrances that I so they like the sandalwood in this part of the world. So that's why it was colonized. So thank you, East Timor, for that sandalwood. And 1859 is kind of when that treaty takes place, where they Portuguese cede the western part to the Dutch. World War II, Imperial Japan occupied the Portuguese Timor portion, and then Portugal resumes control after Japan's defeat in World War II. And then they declared themselves independent from Portugal in 1975. And this is where the trouble starts, right? So just a little touch base on Portugal a little bit. So 1975 is kind of a long time after the decolonization period, right? You think more late 50s, 60s with that, post-World War II. The Portuguese, they were not going to give it up. That was theirs, right? Pluricontinentalism of the Portuguese Empire, right? These were not just colonies. They were part of Portugal, right? So, and I'll give you another cheap plug for my channel here. Go check out my Portugal episode where I talk about that in detail. So 1975, the dictator, quote unquote, Salazar, he passes away, and they have the Carnation Revolution, right? So this is a very left-wing decolonization movement. And the Dutch bail. So the Dutch leave Indonesia before this time. But this is where you start getting a lot of the the international community saying that you need to free all of your subjects. So the Portuguese kind of lose Angola, Mozambique, and this place. In East Timor, though, they do retain fairly friendly relations with their Lusophone brothers to this day. Lusophone meaning Portuguese. So they have friendly relations with Mozambique. Not as much Angola, but Macau as well, right? The former Portuguese it's kind of like their Hong Kong in China, right? And then Portugal and Britain kind of give that up in the late 90s, right? Sort of at the same time. So they're a very Christian country too. So they, the Portuguese, they brought Christianity there, and Indonesia is majority Muslim. Right? It's the biggest Muslim country in the world. Maybe you don't really think of that. You think more that would maybe be Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Iran. Nope, it's actually Indonesia. And Indonesia, again, I have to talk about it. I know I already did Indonesia, but it ties into this. Indonesia is basically held together with duct tape, right? So that is a massive, massive country spanning thousands of islands, a lot of different cultures, and kind of causes a lot of problems. And you might think, well, these East Timor Christians are not going to get along with the Muslims, right? It's way more complicated than that. Believe it or not, that's not really that much of an issue here. And this is another kind of a weird contradiction. The Carnation Revolution of 1975 in Portugal was a very left-wing anti-colonial movement, right? So the people of Indonesia did not want communism in Indonesia. So even though this place was a Christian country, they thought that they were receiving communist backing, right? So Indonesian troops invade. A lot of people die. This kicks off a civil war that lasts pretty much for 30 years. Anywhere from 100,000 to 250,000 people died. And that's a lot, because this is not a big country at all. So you don't really think, Christianity backed by communists, it doesn't really make sense. But yeah, I tried to find if there was any truth to that, right? If there was actual communist subversion here, I couldn't really find anything. In Indonesia, there absolutely was, but not in this place. And you can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Excuse me. You can correct my research assistants if they were wrong in the comments, because I'm not wrong. So, yeah, this kicks off again a 30-year period of civil war, and a lot of this stuff is kind of alien to Westerners. A lot of Southeast Asian history. We know a little bit about the Cold War. This is very loosely related to Cold War stuff, right? I mean, you have the decolonial elements, but this is much more of kind of just a local conflict here, between these peoples. And the president of Indonesia, kind of a big reason why this war lasts for 30 years is that Indonesia had a president for 30 years, right? They had a dictator that, did not want to see this place gain independence. With a lot of international community pressure, he's removed from power in the late 90s, and that's what sort of kicks off the roadmap for independence in this place. So they do have a referendum, and that I believe that's 1999 when the referendum takes place. And there was some talks about having this place be a special autonomous zone, right, where it's still part of Indonesia but not fully independent. And that was shot down, and they overwhelmingly voted that no, we're gonna be an independent country. So the referendum passes. Indonesia does send in more troops. There's more it's more of like a guerrilla war kind of thing, where there's like these Indonesian militants that invade, and more people die in the roadmap, kind of the lead up to independence here. But then in 2002, this country is recognized as an independent state. So the first country to achieve independence in the 21st century, right? And I got You got Eritrea right next to it, right? That's also a fairly new country. So pretty new countries here. They both begin with an E. Well, East Timor, Timor-Leste kind of begins with an E, right? Depending on which name you use. Similar flags too, right? They both got these triangles in them. So yeah, new countries on the map. Yeah, this is definitely one of the newest ones. I think after that, when do we get a new country after that? South Sudan, I think, in 2011, and that's it for 2000s countries, right? Because Kosovo, we don't really count as like as a sovereign state. Some people do, but it's not really internationally recognized as one, whereas this one is. All right, so what's been going on down there, James, since independence? Well, I don't know. I've never been there. Oh, you want me to tell you? Oh, okay. Well, it's probably one of the poorest countries in the world. They haven't really been able to kick things off economically. Again, it's a very, very small place, very simple kind of agriculture-based economy. They do rely on a lot of foreign assistance and foreign aid. Again, they're still friendly with a lot of their Portuguese brothers, right? Them Lucophones, that Lusophone gang. I want to be a part of that gang. I like the Lusophone countries. And they rely on kind of a lot of like policing, basically from Australia. Australia is only about 300 miles across the ocean from this place. So for all intents and purposes, it's basically their neighbor. And then, of course, Indonesia is on the other half of this island. And since then, things have pretty much settled down as far as bloodshed goes. They've been kind of left to their own devices. Again, this is a place that probably not a lot of people really know anything about, right? Kind of tucked down there, one of the furthest, southern countries in the world. I believe it's the only country in Asia that's completely south of the equator. And they're still a Christian country. They have a lot of natural resources there, but never really been able to take advantage of it. I don't know if it's just an intellectual capital issue or if they just can't, get the assistance or funding or whatever to do that. But yeah, we'll see. And then I talk about in my Indonesia episode too, how Indonesia could be a place to watch going forward because there's a lot of separatist movements in Indonesia. And, this place is successful in that they did secede. I don't know if you can really call them like a successful country, but they successfully seceded. Succeed and secede. I always get those two confused. I know the difference between them, but sometimes my mouth gets going faster than my brain does. And they seceded. So sometimes when that happens, right, you got to be the first one to jump in the pool, and then when you give the thumbs up to your buddies and let them know that the water's fine, then they jump in. So Timor-Leste, they jumped in. Will other Indonesian islands follow? Story at 9 on tonight's news. We'll see what happens. But James, enough about that. We've heard more than enough from you today. What is this flag about? I'm dying to know because I can see that it's got red in it, but it's a little bit of a darker red. Does that mean blood? What the heck is going on with this star? Why are there two triangles? And you're asking a lot of questions, and I promise I will get to all of them. All right, so the white star, right? It's kind of cocked to the side here. That's let's see here. It's for peace, right, and serves as a guiding light. And then the yellow means colonialism. Huh? Really? Okay. I didn't know that was a colonial color. The red stands for the National Liberation Struggle, right? We know what that means, so that still means the same. And then the black represents the obscurantism that needs to be overcome. The what? Hold on a minute. I gotta look this. Obscurantism. Let's see. Let me pull out my Merriam-Webster's dictionary here. Okay. In philosophy, the terms obscurantism and obscurationism identify and describe the anti-intellectual practices of deliberately presenting information in an abstruse and imprecise manner that limits further inquiry and understanding of a subject. Okay, so, down with obscurantism. Down with obscurantism. So, that's the only flag I know that represents obscurantism. And as far as I know, hey, we still got a few more left, so maybe there'll be some more of those. But that is the flag of Timor-Leste. Again, one of the newer countries in the world. So let me know what you think about it. And also, don't forget, like, comment, and subscribe. And I will catch you on the next episode.